Hello, all you sparkle dogs and fan-made species that once was well-loved but now has to be retired for reasons. Welcome to a show that introduces you to an exploratory expedition into the fuzzy-wuzzy world of the furry fandom for what it's worth. In today's episode, we step through a rather fuzzy door into a place I'm sure plenty of you know about, or are afraid to admit, a place where in all forms except physical, you are a wolf. Where running on all forms, when running on all fours at all times was the thing to do, especially in public. That's right, we are talking about cringe. So sit back, relax, as we get a little uncomfy and a little too on the nose about all things that make you feel like two pieces of styrofoam scraping against each other.
Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate that. Very amazing, warm welcoming. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another live stream of For What It's Worth. Yay!
You know, just thinking about the sound of styrofoam rubbing against each other,
Ooh, you feel like a little ball of paper.
I threw up in my mouth a little.
I hate it.
You know, it always makes me think of like nails on a chalkboard going down, or popsicle sticks. Popsicle sticks always make me cringe.
What?
Especially when they go in the wrong hole.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, why popsicle sticks?
Yeah, explain.
Have you ever sucked on a popsicle stick
Yeah.
and just like rubbed it on your tongue?
There was a popsicle
Yeah.
on it, but yeah.
Right.
Sorry, I don't know why, but that just like
That's just one of
gives
those
me the
things.
heebie-jeebies.
It's one of those
That's
things
fair.
that just doesn't feel right.
So wet wood.
Wood.
Wood that is wet.
But yes, thank you everyone for being here today, live on the interwebs.
Yay!
I suppose as good a
Woo,
place to any as good a place as any to kick us off. Recapping, Rue, what have you been up to?
Well, I have been up to a lot of things. So I'm going to make it really, really quick. So I have been playing Paper Mario, the Thousand-Year Door. It is...
Let's go!
I know, it's so good. It's so amazing. I'm so glad that they brought that back. I love the Paper Mario series, but over the years, it has kind of gone down the pot. So it's good to bring back one of the good ones, and it's been fun to play it again. I have been doing a lot more of VR chat every Monday night. I hop into to VR chat with a bunch of friends, and we have a good old-fashioned game night. So that's been pretty cool, and I've connected with a lot of people on there. So it's been quite awesome, and I have full body tracking now, so I can wiggle my toes and jump around and stare at myself for an hour in the mirror, wiggling my tail. I don't have a problem. No, I don't. And then, of course, a couple nights ago, I went to Fluff with Sammy. It was hell of a lot of fun. Was able to see a lot of fluffy furs there, our local fandom. And then, of course, I may or may not have gotten a bunch of cookies recently by a little cookie scheme that I pulled. So it was fun. It was good. So there you go. That's my recap.
Tammy, what have you been up to?
Not much since the last time. I mean, just hanging out with people. I joined Rue briefly on Monday in VR. I realized after putting my headset on, I have not put my VR headset on since like January. So it's been a minute. And I went, oh, I don't remember how any of this works. So that's always fun. Then just playing Final Fantasy XIV, trying to get through the story quest. I am in the very first game still, or I guess the very first expansion. So we'll get there eventually. But that's fun. It's bit of a slow start with that game, but as you get into it, it starts getting more interesting. So finally getting to the point where I feel like it's actually hooking me a little bit. Other than that, it's nothing too unusual. Just day to day, getting through life,
Making your way downtown.
making my way downtown sometimes.
Making your way in the world today.
Yeah, that's better.
Well, that's an old reference that like no one's gonna get. Speaking of old, Voss, what are you up to?
Aw.
Ba-dum-bum.
Old.
That-
Oh, it hurts.
That's not who I expected you to go to.
Oh, and absolutely nothing. Nothing. I literally have done
Right.
nothing. See there.
Click. What are you up to?
Same.
Well, we're just
No.
killing
Us
it.
and Click live the most interesting lives together.
I'm kind of in a
Charlotte-
weird, like,
Oh.
it's a weird transitional period right now. It's kind of like I said in the last episode. Like, all these games that I play are coming out with updates eventually, so I don't want to spend a bunch of time in them all because I'm just going to start over anyway. So I do a lot of I'm going to play this for 10 minutes and then get bored. And then I'm going to play this for 10 minutes and get bored. I guess it's a good thing I have 200 and some odd games in my Steam library.
Just a couple.
Charlie.
Me? Let's see.
Yes.
Also on the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake bandwagon. Pretty solid. I just found at Best Buy by Power A, they make a wireless GameCube controller that functions just like a Pro. So you don't have to have any funny little adapters, and it's been really fun to play
Wow.
the remake with that, and it's really nice.
At Best Buy, you better get that while you can.
I know. So when I saw it, I was like, is it good? And I read the reviews and it was good. The only downside is it does still take batteries. So you still have to like buy rechargeable batteries for it. But that's like the most minor thing. Everything else about it has been pretty great. It feels and works just like a GameCube controller. And then I've also recently played Indigo Park, everyone's current heartthrob mascot horror game.
I've heard everyone saying good things about it. Yeah.
It's interesting. I have some beef with it. Well, not beef. I have some critiques on it as a theme park lover. It doesn't give off theme park vibes yet, but it might later. I don't know. But right now, it's like, all right, it has potential. It's gonna be pretty good. We're gonna see some, what's the word, submectophobia like stuff. We're gonna be seeing that here in the next chapter for sure.
Okay. Learning time with Charlie. What in the hell does that mean?
Submectophobia. That's the fear of animatronics that are submerged in water.
That is
And those-
really
it's those-
specific.
It's like the Jaws. It's like the
Right,
creatures
right,
that come splooging out of the water. It's that famous picture of in the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the giant sea
The
serpent that
giant
just
squid, yeah.
goes. Whoa! It's like one of those things where it's so not quite right, but it is alive,
yeah.
but it just doesn't feel right. And it's
I guess
underwater.
that makes sense if you break it down. Submectophobia.
Phobia.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm butchering it, but I'm not going to Google it because that's how we do it here. And also planning out a Woo. We got fun shows that I'm excited to be a part of in it, and then San Francisco next month. And so we've got all things booked and planned and ready. So
Okay,
excited.
Charlie. For the non-locals, what is a woo?
What is a well? I'm glad you asked.
No, $50
no.
fine.
You see,
What did I do?
You see, in this place known as Anthro Weekend, Utah, it is our current and so far only local furry convention where we get to hang out, be cool dudes and funny animals in a Mormon law country. So it's the most family safe version of a convention, which does have its quarrels for that, but you know, it's whatever. But it's fun. It's great. I'll be an auctioneer. I get to talk fast, and then it's a lot of hootenanny, hullabaloo, and there is a $350 fine if you do audibly make a wolf howling sound effect inside the area. So please be cautious when you're in there.
I love that. You know what my license plate is, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's so good.
Hey, Nuka,
Yes.
what have you been up to?
I'm glad you asked, Rue. I was about to say it to myself, but no one said it. I was like, Nuka, what are you up to?
That would have been
Um,
funny. That would have been funnier and more on par with the theme.
As a professor's work is never done, people are like, what do you do over the summer? Apparently, it's rebuild classes. That's what I've been doing incessantly since the semester ended. So going through and just pulling my classes apart and reading new textbooks and building new lectures, finding new jokes and stuff. Still walking. I'm up to about 400 miles now of walking in about 6 weeks.
That's pretty good.
I'm down 15 pounds. I'm happy to say. So that's
Quite an
good.
achievement.
Thank you. My legs hurt like the Dickens, but I'm getting her done. My goal is to do with 1,000 miles over the summer, 1,000 miles before September. I don't know if I'll be able to, but so far I'm on pace to do it.
I think you can.
The problem is that I'm away for a lot of July for Anthrocon and stuff for a few weeks, so I'm not going to be able to get much walking. I mean, I'll be doing walking at Anthrocon, but I'm not counting it as like a walk. So, and speaking of Anthrocon, I'll be prepping for Anthrocon here. So it's all through ethics. Everything's good to go. For those who follow for science, we're going to be doing a big study at Anthrocon, and the fine folks at Furality are again going to be advertising our study there. So always in the process of analyzing data or collecting new data. I also see
You know,
that
Nuka, we just need to get you a VR avatar and have you attend and have a panel. It'd be great.
I'm not opposed. I tried VR entirely one time, and I decided that I'm old and don't get it because I don't see the appeal. Maybe it's just me. I don't begrudge anyone for liking it, but I just don't like. It doesn't click with me. I just it's not.
It
for me, I
doesn't
think.
click with you?
Well, you do that lovely little CG cat you've got is very much capable for VR.
I'm not opposed
Absolutely.
to the idea. I'll have to figure it out. But it's hard enough giving a talk when I'm trying to pay attention to the talk itself. But then trying to manage the VR stuff when you're a novice like me, I imagine the talk would just be, my avatar being perfectly still and like at a really awkward angle. This is my talk. So
That's why we need to get you to go in and experience Furality yourself. So then that way you can see what it's all about and catch the vision.
Catch the
Possible.
virus.
Or catch
So,
viruses, yeah.
all that walking today has made me kind of hungry. If only I had some kind of baked good with which to sate my hunger. I don't know if anyone
wait,
out here
Someone
Nuka,
has stolen all of ours.
Didn't you have something else to talk about that's on the show notes?
I also noticed that Rue has copied and pasted a line from his show notes into my show notes.
No.
Yeah. The line says "giant goat anus," which I can only assume you put in the wrong spot, Rue. Yeah.
We need an update. The world needs to know.
No.
Well,
It's not giant. It's normal size. How unamusing.
I appreciate you, Nuka. I really do. Thank you,
Someone
thank
has to.
you. With all the torture that you've had given me lately. All right, so we have our cookie for today. Let's see. Here. There you go. Did you hear that crack? All right, so the cookie for today is... man, I have crumbs all over the place. Beware of the offer that sounds too good to be true in bed with a cookie. So once again, beware of the offer that sounds too true.
Too to be
I
good.
messed up. Beware of the offer that sounds too good to be true in bed with a cookie.
Beware.
Beware of the true that sounds too good to be offer.
Oh, Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you guys are watching the chat, but look at that little meme there. Nuka be like, I want. Sorry.
That was
Use an
pretty-
analogy, and people just run with it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But your
might-
damn. Hey, sorry, I just saw the one about the tank stance, and I'm like, excuse me. That's what I play.
So I don't know if we have show notes here, and we say throw to break. I don't think we're not throwing a break right now, are we?
Nah, let's get right into it. I think
Perfect.
yeah,
Well,
let's dig into it, and then we'll take a break at the halfway point, and
Or so.
we'll go for there.
So speaking of Nuka's cringing at that memory from the last episode, that's a wonderful transition into the topic this week, where we're talking about cringe. And I think I titled the episode "A Reasoned or a Sensible Discussion About Cringe," because I think it's one of those things where it's really easy for it to descend into just like it's very easy to mock cringe or to target specific people. And I want it to be a little bit more about like a roundtable discussion of like, what is cringe? Why do we cringe? What do we cringe at? It's kind of a more cerebral conversation about it, with plenty of examples, of course. But I guess to start, we should probably define what we mean by cringe, just to make sure we're all on the same page. And believe it or not, I actually looked up online. Psychologists are starting to study cringe, which is amazing.
Oh no.
I love when psychology catches up to the rest of popular culture and takes very seriously something that is sort of mocked or silly in culture. So when we talk about cringe, we're talking about something you feel physiologically. So a cringe response is a physical response. You feel it in your gut. You feel it in your body posture. It's like you kind of you tense up a bit. Your face kind of scrunches up a little bit. You sort of experience it. It's like, oh, there's this thing that's awful, and I don't want to look away from it. But instead of a train crash, it's someone doing something just awful. Some psychologists have called it vicarious embarrassment or empathic shame. So you see someone doing something embarrassing, something that they ought to be ashamed about, and like you feel shame or embarrassment on their behalf because they might not be. In terms of why we feel it or what the purpose of it is, it could be a matter of what's something called the black sheep effect. So it's a member of your group. As furries, when we see furries being cringe, we're like, oh, it hurts my soul. I'm a part of this group, and you're part of this group with me. Sometimes it's seen as the sort of cautionary tale that, oh, don't do what this person did. But we're not talking about like, oh, some politician I dislike has given a speech and I hate it. How cringe. That's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about that thing makes me mad. We're really talking about specifically feeling this embarrassment or shame either on someone else's behalf or maybe looking back to past videos or images of yourself. So I guess the first question I'll throw to the room and to the chat is how do you respond when you see cringe? Because I know there's some people who like actively seek it out. Like there are entire Discord servers and Reddit channels dedicated to cringe. Are you one of those folks who like seeks out the cringe and embraces it and revels in it, or are you like me? I can't watch cringe compilations. I get too uncomfortable watching it. What do you guys think?
Pay money, Wubby. That's all that comes to my mind. He loves watching those cringe compilations. But whenever I think of the word cringe, I feel like a water bottle that's empty and you just kind of twist it up when you watch something like that. It just feels like, oh, you're like, oh
Yeah,
God.
you
That
feel it in
is
your guts, right? Yeah.
not right. But it depending on how it is, sometimes it can be a little funny. It can be a
Have
little
you seen those lemon memes going around?
I love those.
It's that where it's like lick lemon. Oh, you feel it in your face. I I don't want to say I actively seek it out, but it's definitely something that it's like if someone sends me a video or I find something, I am a sucker for watching like fail compilations or
Those are
like
good. Those are good.
or like dash cam driving fail compilations. I
Well, it's
don't know.
interesting. So, what's
It's
interesting
one of
because
those.
there's empathy with that. Like if you see someone like screw up a grind and hit themselves in the balls, right? You empathize with them. You cringe at, oh God, you feel the pain. So there's that empathy there. But I wouldn't call that cringe per se,
Mm.
right? You're vicariously experiencing the pain, but like cringe is much more. I think at least. People might disagree with me, but I feel like cringe is more like, oh, that's really embarrassing, or that's really off-putting.
I would say
And
it would be more psychological on it than it would be physical.
Mm.
Like having a furry stand up on a table in a coffee shop and start screaming at the top of their lungs.
That's
Oh.
never happened. Never. That's never happened to us ever before,
You
Voss,
might want
right?
to be
Not-
like,
not
oh,
just screaming.
no."
High-pitched screeching.
And then you just don't want to associate with them, but you're part of that group. You're there with them. So now what do?
Like,
You
oh,
just
now,
cringe.
yeah, it reflects on me too.
Yeah.
It
No,
just
and I
makes
think whether you're physically like I think if you're physically there in the moment or not, that can definitely change your reaction.
Right. That's kind of the whole thing, right? Is if you're physically involved or there, it's a lot different than watching it on a video. Because
Yeah.
if you're watching on a video, most people just laugh and blow it off. But if you're there, you actually kind of share in the embarrassment, especially if you're part of the group.
Yeah.
I see a couple of comments from the chat here. Eli says, if I see it, my eyes are glued to it, and it's like watching a train wreck.
Yes.
And Sage Lightfang, I feel like I'm in the same boat as Sage Lightfang here. I'm an empath. When I see someone being cringy, I feel it almost. I tend to want to get away from it. Yeah, I can't watch it. I'm so, it's so uncomfortable for me. I need to like mentally bleach and go watch a cat video or something just to fix the feeling. So I guess
Does it extend elsewhere though? When you get a message on a messenger and someone says hi DURP, do you cringe?
oh, yes.
You're not
I
there.
think Rue is cringing.
Yeah, but you're directly involved.
I guess.
So I guess we're sort of leading into the next sort of part here, which is what do we cringe at, right? And so we sort of mentioned a couple of examples here. One of the ones, just for a laugh, I put in, everyone's had this moment where you're at a restaurant and the server brings you your food and they say, enjoy your meal. And you stupidly say, thanks, you too. And for like the next minute, like, oh, that wouldn't necessarily be cringe per se, because like you're the one who did, right? You're feeling embarrassment, right? But you're not feeling cringe. Now, if you saw me do that and you're like, oh my God, Nuka just did that, that's embarrassing, that would be cringe, I would say. But we can talk about what other kinds of things elicit cringe, because it can be things like social awkwardness. When you see a person being socially awkward and they don't realize it, right? So they've done something socially awkward and maybe they don't realize it. I find that cringy things also tend to be things that where a person is really confident and has no business being that confident. Like you see some 13-year-old kid who thinks they're really cool and you're like, oh, you don't realize. Right? It's that lack of self-awareness. I think that's the difference between like, oh, I look like an asshole and I know it, versus like, oh, sweetie, you don't even realize.
I have a good example of that. I was in an Among Us game way back in the long days of, and back in those days, there was a person who we all had like 10 plus people, and then one of them had to leave for a sec before we could start the next game. And this one person is just chuckling to themselves, and we're like, "What's so funny?" And they go, "They don't know that I am chaos. I am, of course,
Oh.
going to be evil." And they're like, I think they're
Oh,
trying to
no.
ham it up to be a villain, but no one else is feeling the vibe. And so it's just like,
Oh.
ooh, boy, buddy, you sure are. Hi, you're as bad as a brony still in 2024.
Whoa, whoa,
Ouch.
whoa.
Wow.
How are they still
Wow.
around? Explain yourself as someone who once was. How are you still here?
So just to throw it into chat, Sage ended up saying, "I'm an empath. When I see someone being cringy, I almost feel it. I tend to want to get away from it personally."
That's a smart thing to do.
Yeah,
I read that one earlier.
I'm
Yeah, that's
also
what Nuka-
borderline an
Speaking of
empath
cringe,
myself, and
Nuka
I
already
read
read that
earlier.
line.
Yeah. And I was letting it happen because I was cringing at it.
Rue, you are
Somebody
Sorry,
on the ball with
paying
this one.
attention.
a what?
We're on the ball with this one.
Wait, did you read that already?
Yes.
I read it already. And I was going to interrupt you, but it was funnier to let it happen and cringe at
I'm
it.
sorry. Well,
That's the
I
thing.
just wanted to comment.
I'm sorry, Rue. I love you.
It's okay. I
Oh,
wasn't paying
no.
attention. I was
But see,
trying to post.
that's the perfect
the
part
link
there.
out.
It's the lack of self-awareness, right? It's the fact that Rue was sort of confidently saying that and didn't know. That's what makes it cringe. Is that, like, as I was watching it, I'm like, oh, he doesn't know, and that's what made it feel cringe. And no, I'm just poking fun at you there, Rue. Don't worry about
It's
it.
okay. I know that if you open up a dictionary and you look at it, you'll see my picture right there next to the word cringe. So there you go.
Because in some ways, cringe is very unintentional, right? You do genuinely feel bad for the most part for the person. Like it's like, oh, like, you almost feel bad. Like, oh, Rue's doing this and he doesn't know. And I empathize, right? I think if you don't empathize, if like, oh, screw that guy, I'm glad he's making an ass of himself. You don't feel cringe. You feel like Schadenfreude. You feel like happy that this thing is happening. With cringe, there's a modicum of like relatability or empathy. Like, oh man, like, oh, I wouldn't want that to happen to me.
So, listening to, kind of what you guys have been saying is what's cringe and what's not. What is there a difference between something being cringy and something just being embarrassing? Or are they kind of in the same realm, and you just use different terminology kind of thing?
Well, so
Hmm.
psychologists would say it's vicarious embarrassment. So you're feeling embarrassment on someone else's behalf. They've done something embarrassing, and either they don't know that they should be embarrassed yet, or they lack social awareness or something else. But you're feeling the embarrassments as if that were you.
Yeah. See, I just in my brain, it's like embarrassment is one thing, but cringe is another, and cringe is so much worse. Like my
Well,
brain
right,
is
because
like cringe is
embarrassment is
so
like
much
you're doing something and you're embarrassed about it, whereas cringe is somebody else is doing something and you feel embarrassed because they should.
okay, and they don't,
And
or
they
don't
don't.
realize at the moment.
Right.
Like going with
Okay.
what Charlie said, what about people being edgelords? Just trying to be that chaos and that deep, dark, brooding boy, and you're like, oh god.
Everybody's just
cringy
like, oh,
little edgelord.
okay.
I am the anime villain. Fear me. I have the power of God and anime on my side.
But it doesn't. But see, it doesn't. It's not cringe if it's intentional, right? Like if I go to a anime convention dressed as Goku and I just run out going, oh, like it's obvious that I'm in on it. I'm doing this. So if you watch someone being a jackass, you kind of chuckle and go, ah ha ha, look at them. You're in on the joke with them. But if you realize, oh no, they don't realize how dumb they look, that's when you cringe.
I think it's a matter of environment, because like if you were to do a Goku impression where you just sit there doing the whole Kamehameha, with a bunch of other anime nerds are all going to eventually join in, even if they're dressed in the wrong anime. They're going to jump in because they know it. That's the bit.
Right.
That's funny.
Mhm.
But if you were to like say go to like a Denny's at like 3 a.m. and there's just normal individuals that are just piss tired and just
Normies.
want to have cheap pancakes and a grand slam, and then you go in there doing it in the Goku outfit, no one's gonna get it, and everyone's gonna go, "Why, bud? Can you shut the? It's
Right.
like 2 a.m."
So there's that, and Hanaconda brought up a good point in the chat, right? So what's the difference between people who don't know that they're being a pain in the ass and people who are doing it on purpose? Because I feel like if somebody's just being an ass on purpose and being disruptive, it's not necessarily cringe because I'm not embarrassed for them. Everybody's just like, what a jackass, right? But if they don't know, like if they're not doing it intentional, then you feel bad for them.
It's so much worse.
Right.
See, what about you're going around doing all of your Goku sounds and everyone's on it, but what about the person who's just way too into it? They have a whole backstory about their Goku.
Oh god, that sounds like someone walking up to you at a convention, giving you their entire OC lore.
Yes, I escaped planet Namek before Goku did, and before it was destroyed by Frieza. I tried to go back, but then there was nothing left. I don't know, some bullshit.
Well, I mean, there's a weird point you get where you can watch a person being really cringy, you go, oh, that's cringe. But then at some point, it's almost like it loops back, and like if they do it with enough conviction and enough confidence, you're like, yeah, buddy, own it. Like
right.
you don't feel bad for them anymore. 'Cause like, okay, no, they're really into this. Like.
It's like going to a Renaissance fair and there's people dressed in Star Trek gear, and they're purposely off character to annoy the Renaissance players, and it's like, guys.
Yeah.
But again,
Don't you think that cringe is also in the eye of the beholder? Like, for example, I talked about popsicle sticks and how rubbing them against my tongue is like the most worst thing that could ever happen to me. Please don't remember that and torture me later. I really don't like popsicle sticks.
Buys popsicle sticks.
I don't know.
Look,
Anyways,
Amazon has a big order of them for cheap.
I have a big package of them downstairs.
Alexa,
my point
add
is
popsicle
that
sticks to my shopping list.
my point is cringe like in the eye of the beholder? Like people that are outside the fandom will probably, if they see an image, just an image of a furry, they might automatically have a visceral reaction.
Yeah.
But for us,
right.
we're okay with that. Maybe if we see a human walking down the street, we'll be like, ew. No, just kidding. I'm joking. But
I think 100%. Yeah, it's in your ability to empathize with this person or your knowledge, right? So if you see a fursuit, you go, oh, how embarrassing, they're in that thing and don't realize how ridiculous they look. Right. But if you know, oh, this is a subculture and it's part of a group and stuff, then the knowledge you bring to the table with you helps you go, oh, no, this isn't embarrassing at all. I want to touch on a couple of comments here that I see. So one in the YouTube chat here, Hanaconda says, I'm at a furry convention this weekend, and the main cringe moments I've seen here were people being disruptive when they didn't realize or maybe care that they were. Right, so I get a big part of that, the not realizing part. Like, oh, you don't
Yeah, that's
realize.
what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And this time, Nuka wasn't paying attention.
Damn.
It comes full circle.
Yeah, hate to see it.
Did someone say it already?
Yeah.
Well,
did.
I didn't verbatim it.
You didn't say I'm reading this comment from the chat. You made that point, but
I did say in chat from Hanaconda.
Oh, herder. Okay, never mind. I just did it.
All right, we are on par with the theme, ladies and germs.
We need a tally of how many
Brew
times.
and I are racing to the bottom to see who's
We
more
cringe.
cringe.
Yeah.
It's a cringe off.
All right.
we're gonna figure out which
engaging.
one of us are more gaping.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm kind of starting to wonder if Rue has this weird obsession with gaping holes.
Yeah.
No, excuse me.
Mm.
Excuse me. This is Nuka's thing.
Yeah,
I am the chronic masturbator here. He's the gaping hole guy.
Yeah, but
He can admit it finally.
He did.
No,
that's the first step.
No,
The first
no,
step.
I have not reached the first step. No, I have not.
God, that needs to be on a soundboard. I'm the chronic masturbator here.
No.
Also, Eli says here, I have a small story involving me being cringy AF. I was talking with some classmates back in high school, circa 1300 BC. I was dating Sage online at the time, and the conversation was between me, one gal, and another dude. During so, the guy asks me randomly, "Hey, would you date her?" indicating the girl that was there. Somehow my brain went into defensive mode for some odd reason, and I went, "No." I was stared at. Then, scrambling over my own words, I mouth diarrheaed, because I'm dating a girl online. I have not recovered. We also have a letter here. I guess one of those rare times when we actually have letters from people. So
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. I wonder who it's from.
Yay!
so this
Wow.
one is from Neon. I should point out right out of the gate, it has some fan art, and I think it is adorable. I don't know if there's a way to put it on the screen
Yeah.
to show off to people, but yeah, there is fan art for both Rue and myself. So thank you very much. It's so cute.
Hey, there's Neon.
And you got the colors all like you nailed the colors on Nuka. And he's got a clipboard, which means it's authentic Nuka doing science. I love it. And there's an email to go with it. So, hi, cast and audience. Neon here again. It's another long email, so please don't force Rue to read it. It's Nuka's turn. Well, that's appropriate, I guess. The Furs Helping Furs episode was awesome, and I'm glad to be a part of a community that's so helpful and caring. Nuka, I'm sorry for your loss, and I hope you and Ocean and the rest of the team are doing well. Thank you very much. On another note, I've never been to a con, but I've been to flea markets and swap meets and agree that people need to be aware of the lines forming behind them and should save casual conversations for slow points of the day and not distract the dealer from watching their inventory and interacting with customers, not sound rude or callous. I think it's in reference to our previous episode about dealer stands.
Mhm.
On to today's topic of cringe. How do y'all feel about group howls? I know they're cringe, but I'd imagine it's part of the fun at a con, and it's part of the fun of furry. And for each member, do you have something specific that makes you cringe that you shy away from or dislike? Finally, I draw on my lunch breaks at work, and including fan art for Rue and Nuka. I'm working on more for the other cast members, but I only get a short amount of time to work, so keep an eye out. Thanks for your time again, Neon. Thank you
Aw.
so much, Neon. Let's talk about howls, everyone. So, how do we feel about howls?
I say if you can harmonize that, that's amazing. Otherwise, knock it off.
Do we need to have a for what it's worth howl? Do we?
Absolutely not.
No.
That does
I-
make me think back in the dark ages of the horsey fandom. There was I forget the Minotaur character's name, but he would just scream,
Iron Will.
"Oh yeah, Iron Will," and he would just say, "Oh yeah," and that was a thing during
Yeah.
the first pony conventions. Was screaming, "Oh yeah," at the top of your lungs, like all in unison, and it was always just the boys being boys kind of thing. But always at the same time, there was a little bit of like, "All right, we should probably stop."
Yeah. For me, it's very much like for howls, it's a time and place thing. Like I don't like them. I don't really care for them. If you're just like out in a park or out somewhere and you just start doing it, or a bunch of you start doing it, I'm like, please stop, please stop. At a con, I'm okay, sure, you're at a con, but in the back of my head, I'm still going, please don't.
You're old.
I am
So-
old.
So my cringe at a convention is having people walk around
With squeakers.
boom boxes and
Oh.
music.
Bluetooth
playing it.
speakers.
Yep. And it's like, okay, your music is not that good. I'm sorry. Like
Well,
See,
even
I
if
don't-
your music is good, it doesn't matter. Not everybody wants to listen to it in the
See, I
hallway.
don't consider that cringe. You're just an asshole.
Right,
Yeah,
that's just annoying.
obnoxious.
Yeah, I don't cringe at you. I just dislike you.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get the census. We should have another episode of what is cringe, and then instead of when are you an asshole?
Yeah, that should be its own episode. To go back to the.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, Nuka. I want to say one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love the photo. Thank you. It's so cute. It's holding it's Rue
They are
holding a
cute.
little cookie in his cape.
It's
He looks
decidedly
so dashing.
anti-cringe.
So thank you very much.
It's a refreshing amuse bouche after cringe. So goes
Honestly, as a side note, that picture is very enticing. That looks like a trap.
Very. You also make
Well-
Rue like way too tall. You got to shrink that down by like half because.
Oh my gosh,
Wow.
guys. If you want me to show a cringe photo of Rue, I'll show you a cringe photo of Rue. But
Oh,
but it's
no.
not that cringe. I mean,
No.
it was also fan art that was sent a long time ago, and I absolutely love it. But I'll post it in chat. So go ahead and continue to talk, and I'll get that posted.
So I was going to say on the wooing thing, I think getting to some of the points that were made, again, awareness is a big deal. So if you're at a convention and you're like, hey, let's all do an woo because we know it's annoying and we're embracing the cringe, that I think is, I mean, I still hate it, but I don't cringe at it, right? It's much more cringe, like you said, when you're out in public and you're doing it and you're much more genuine about it, like, oh, I'm doing this and people think it's cool, or I'm like, oh no, you're making a scene and you don't realize. So it's all about the intent. Is the person intentionally embracing and doing it in spite of not caring, or is there like I think this looks really cool?
I mean, it's like when you see Homestuck cosplayers in public, and it's just like, guys, why are you painted gray? Why is there horns? What? And why are you being obnoxious here, guys? This is, oh my god, I'm leaving. This is a
Homestuck-
Denny's.
Homestuck was definitely its own level of
Sir,
cringe.
this is a Wendy's.
And
Shoot! That's why I couldn't get the Grand Slam. I'll just take the 10-piece spicy nuggies and
yeah,
So speaking of Homestuck, we can talk about cosplay and fursuiting and stuff. Like, you want to avoid saying, oh, I think that suit looks bad, therefore it's cringe. It's not like trying to shit on people for having a less expensive suit or whatever. But I think there are times where there's a cosplay or a suit that is cringe. And like, it's a really fine line between, oh, that suit looks not great, but I can see that this was their first time building a suit and they're really proud of it. That I think is a lot less cringy than, say, a person is wearing this suit and like doesn't realize how it's coming across.
A better argument to that point, it would be like someone who's made a fursuit for the first time. It doesn't look all well put together. It doesn't look as clean or as professional as others, but it's homemade and genuine. And it's like, oh, there's a bit of class to it. Versus there's another person who has had the same fursuit for well over 12 years. It is matted. It is not looking good. It is aged poorly, and they are still wearing it, and there is an obvious stench. And they just will, out of nothing, they'll just keep wearing it, and it's like,
Yeah.
But when do we take this out back and show it the daisies? Just
Well, that's actually a really good distinction, right? Because like one of my favorite things is homemade fursuits. I will never ever cringe on people who make their own suit. If you have the courage and you want to try it and you make your own suit, good on you. Wear that sucker.
Cringe.
do it.
But-
That's awesome.
Poor care is a whole different
There's
story.
a whole nother realm.
Ooh, I have cringe that I can throw up. So here you go. So when it comes to fursuiters, I mean, we know somebody. I mean, we're not going to say names or anything, but we know of some people that have some lovely fursuits that definitely have never been washed ever. So knowing proper care is so important. But the other cringe that I want to just throw out is, if you're an amphibious person, please don't wear your webbed fingered gloves as you're eating a sandwich at a fur meet. Thank you for that PSA talk. So
Thank you for
I'm just
coming to
gonna
Rue's
step down
TED
now.
Talk.
Yeah, my TED talk.
Well, what about the other side? Someone who has spent a lot of money on a very fancy suit, and now they walk around with chest puffed out, held chin high. Are you cringing at them?
No, they're just a douchebag.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's like, see, that's that now. It's a different realm of cringe. That makes me think of like people who get very famous suits from very famous suit makers, but they do nothing with it. They're just relying wholly that the suit will do all the work, and so
Right.
they're just
Well, that's the
very
thing, right?
stiff, very lame, very scary, very boring. And it's like,
Right.
it's a cute suit, but put something in the character.
Put something
I am
into
not
it.
interested now.
Right. Well, that's kind of a whole different subject, honestly, because that's kind of the other thing, right? Is I'm not going to cringe on people just because you have the money to spend on an expensive suit either, right? If you have it,
Cool.
that's your decision, right? But don't be an ass about it.
Exactly.
All right, so what about those going around poodling?
Oh,
that's
cringe.
Yeah, no problem.
cringe. For me, that's cringe. Okay.
Wow.
I know everybody else they're fine with it. For me, that's cringe. Or the people that just walk around with their fursuit head like it's a extension of themselves. Like that's cringe to me as well. So it's like, oh my gosh, for myself,
Generational difference.
put your head on, cover that human skin, and
Old man yells at clouds.
do it right. I guess you have to understand, I come from the old era of the way that fursuiting was before. And I understand that that's changed. And let me tell you, I respect it 100%. But I am very much don't ruin the magic. It's Disney type thing. But at the same exact time, I understand, like, it's not my fursuit. It's not my life. I can't necessarily control other people on how they are perceived, and nor should I. But you know what? It's gonna. I may or may not. Like if I run a charity event and I see that that's how you like to fursuit, guess what? You might not get an invite. I'm just saying.
I just love
Because there's
how...
a difference. Performers and there is an art towards fursuiting, and you can either choose to just treat it like a mask, which that's okay, or you could treat it like it's actually like your character, that you're embodying your character. But
Well,
to each their own, right? Who am I to define? I'm not the god of furry.
that's a pretty good example of, we kind of touched on it earlier, right? Is the
That's another point for
environmental impact. No, not that he reread another one. We just touched on the subject
Darn.
of the environment, right? There's a difference between how you act, like what's cringy at a FurCon versus what's cringy at a public suiting event.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think
in
what
chat,
they-
Sage said, I don't mind poodling as much if it is a financial issue. I agree. I think that a lot of people think that when I talk negative about poodling, that I'm talking negatively about partialing. Let me tell you, I love partialing. I think partialing is amazing. I think it's great. And there's definitely ways that you can partial and stay cool. And I did it for years, and I love partialing, and I still sometimes will partial.
So one of the comments I wanted to mention in the chat, just because it's relevant to me as a brownie, Neon Method says, we did the group Flutter Yay back in the day, and I'm 100% behind this.
Oh my god.
I don't know what that is.
It's a character named Fluttershy who's famous for softly saying the word yay.
My favorite Fluttershy is, I don't want to talk about it.
Deep voice Fluttershy.
Flutter guy,
guy.
Okay, here's another. All right, this one lives rent free in my head. From the moment I saw it, I have cringed years later. at a local fur meet that we used to go to. Like we used to go to restaurants, different restaurants every week, and um, I remember looking across the table, and there was a younger furry there, and they were just casually like they had their phone out, and they were just showing like porn commissions at the table in this restaurant, and I'm like,
Gosh.
first of all, I'm mad at you and I hate you, but the fact that you don't realize that you're not supposed to be doing this makes me cringe. I'm like, I'm angry and upset, and because all of us on our side of the table, like, what are you doing? Stop this! And they didn't realize it. I'm like, what?
Like this isn't like from their phone a quick glimpse. This is like literal prints.
They're passing out the table. The server is coming by, and they got it on their phone. I'm like, oh, stop! Oh my god,
Oh,
stop,
yeah.
child, please, stop.
That's youch. Is in the words of Professor Oak, stop! There's a time and place for this.
Wow.
That's it.
Thanks, Nuka. You killed the conversation.
No, I
And we lost him.
think
Wow.
Nuka died.
Another point for Nuka. Put it on the chat.
I think Nuka straight up died.
Oh yeah, he did.
Oh no, Nuka.
Um,
All right, everybody, let's talk about how amazing Nuka is while he's
ladies and
away.
gentlemen, Nuka.
Yay! We love him. We love his research. We love his airs. Look at that fine look.
He's at least in a better
Here,
place
I-
now.
I'll
He's
try
so
to-
happy to be here.
I'll try to look like Nuka. It's kind of hard to do.
Let's see. Hold on. That work?
It's pretty close. It's pretty close. Closed eyes, happy smile, very soft. Just
Am I back yet?
Hey!
Holy crap, I'm back. My stupid internet.
Oh my gosh. It did really well though.
Your
Yeah,
internet is
really
very
well.
cringe.
Yeah, very cringe. How far did I get it? When did I cut off? I don't know when
You
I cut
cut
off.
off at phones going around the table with servers coming up, and we all reacted, and then we didn't hear back.
And then you went chirp, chirp, chirp. and
Oh
we're
yeah,
like,
so yeah,
"Oh, no."
yeah. So a server comes by to serve food, and there's porn on this phone, and we're all just like dying on our end of the table. Like, stop! What are you doing?
You're one of
I
those. Can we
mean-
just be seated somewhere else?
Yeah,
I mean, I will admit sometimes I'm guilty, but I try to be aware of if other people are around that I'm like, they probably don't want to see this. I try to make sure that I'm by myself. But,
It definitely just like I feel like the solution to that is if they are of a party who is interested, just PM them privately under the table. Like, don't pass it around.
and again, the issue isn't like necessarily with like, oh, they should this be allowed or not or whatever. But it's more so like the fact that they didn't realize, like, oh man, like you're pissing off this entire end of the table and you don't
Yeah.
even realize it. That's the cringy part. Like, oh, you're completely lacking in awareness of how you're coming off to the rest of the
Yeah.
table right now.
Can't read the room.
and I think, and especially if somebody is like, yo, dude, can you not? And then they just
They just kind of
keep
look at you like,
going.
okay, whatever, and then they just keep going. So, anyways,
yeah,
like,
think
then
that's
you're
the
like,
thing.
all right, you
It's
fuck.
no longer cringe. They're just an asshole, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
now they ought to know and don't.
Yeah, 100% that difference between knowing and not knowing or not realizing, and then being like, "Hey, you're being disruptive, or you're being a problem. Can you stop being a problem?" And then
Yeah.
they just go, and keep being a problem. Then it goes from cringe to being just
Douche.
an ass.
Yeah. Right.
So speaking of not reading the room, because I said that a second ago, another really horrible memory I have from a convention, improv comedy. This is single. I used to love going to like the Whose Line Is It Anyway kind of panels at conventions, improv comedy. I can't anymore because I've seen one too many where people who aren't funny get up on a stage thinking they're very funny, and nothing is more cringe than bad comedy from someone who thinks they're funny.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. That makes me think of, I think it was the second year of AWOO. They had gotten professional improvers for like a main event, but then someone else wanted to do their own version of Who's Line, and they didn't quite follow the rules of improv very well, so the jokes would just keep going until the room was quiet, and it was just painful. And a lot of people didn't know how to play the games. Like there was one person trying to play, their character was, is Bruno Mars gay? They were supposed to be a gay Bruno Mars, but they came off as a butch lesbian, and so it didn't work because they're not giving clues that they're Bruno Mars. They're just being themselves as gay with, like, I guess, a passion for Bruno Mars. It's like it didn't work, and so they wouldn't stop the jokes, they wouldn't keep the games moving, and so it would just always come to like a high point and then plummet to its death within the same 5 minutes of watching it, and it made me cringe to the point I had to leave because I wanted to go to it, see like, oh, maybe I can jump in there. That might be fun.
And you can't enjoy it. You can't enjoy it when someone's just bombing.
Just not good, and everyone's not good. And I get it, audience participation, all that jazz, but like, read the room. If there's no one laughing at a laughing show, is it any fun?
You've done something wrong.
Yeah, you might as well make it a drama.
I mean, there are some comedies that you're like, why? Who thinks this is funny?
It's like people who love The Office versus those that love The Office bloopers. There are people who love the bloopers more than they do the actual show. But the actual show,
I don't even like the show.
See, it's one of those things. I love the bloopers. I think they're much funnier because you can watch them out of context and you just watch people breaking character. It's like, that's delightful. Look at them. They can't keep it together.
All right, I'll throw one more out there if I get it with one more.
Okay, we'll go one more, and then I think maybe it's time for a quick break.
All right. So the last one I have, and maybe this is just me. I remember being an 18-year-old furry, but a defensively proud furry. So a furry who like goes online and they're like, yeah, I'm a furry. What are you gonna do about it? I'm a proud furry. Fuck y'all. And I'm like, stop. No, unprovoked, right? It's one thing if you're in a forum and you're arguing, but if it's completely unprovoked, I'm like, oh.
That is a vibe. That is as someone who loves playing TF2.
Well,
and that's 2 is filled with those.
Right. That's the like. It definitely pertains to furry, but it also pertains to anything, right? The whole nobody asked.
Yeah, I think it very much is like, and I don't think that's even furries. I think that's anybody who's like, you know, say a conversation is happening, and then they come in and they're like, "Well, I'm this, that, and the other," and it's like, my dude, we didn't even ask you. Like,
that makes me think of the meme where there's a group of people talking, and there's a guy off onto the side, and he's just like, "I'm a furry," and then one guy just comes in real big with a thumbs up to the guy, and then goes back to the group, just normal conversation. Just like, good job.
Like in the corner, it's like nobody knows I'm blah 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 blah.
It's kind of like that one, yeah.
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, Click gets it.
I got you.
Oh yeah. Nope. Oh, he came back again.
Yeah, sorry, I keep popping in and out.
You're all right. Well, we answered your question. You just didn't.
I did hear it for whatever reason. It dropped at the last second, but yeah.
That's all.
So now we can throw the break.
I think now that Nuka's back, we're gonna go take a break. I think we have a little clip for you before we head off to break. So we'll do that, and then we'll go take like a 5-minute break.
A what?
What clip?
I'm talking about Charlie.
The commercial.
Oh.
We have a bit, me and Rue.
Then get to.
I was trying to be funny.
I was trying to set you up. I threw the ball, and you said, "Wow, butterfly." Wow.
You're like, "Wow, what's this?
What's going on over there? Crazy." Whoa.
All right, Charlie, do it.
What are we talking about? Oh yeah. Do you suffer by being terminally online? Are you one of those poor fools that just can't help but look at the favorite acronyms of NSFW? Are you a chronic masturbator? Well, then,
Oh, my
have we
goodness.
got the solution for you? We've got our very own. I can't explain this. Rue, what is this? You've made this because you clearly have this, so you're trying to self-diagnose yourself. What's going on? What is this thing you have?
Let's see. It's this medication.
It's a
It's called it's called No Pausies.
No,
Oh Jesus.
no palsies. Palsies away.
Pause off.
Pause.
That's even worse.
Pass off your
How-
palsies. Lego my ego. Now the new thing coming around. It's guaranteed to do everything you need to get you out of your sinning ways and get you back to where you belong in society. Side effects may include vanishing fingerprints, forgetfulness, lost sense of smell, the desire to burn your copy of Inside Out, Vegas Baby Vegas, midnight munchies, hallucinations, blue urine, constipation, gas with oily discharges, uncontrollable screaming, swelling, nipple sensitivity, pump play, forced to use a bladder box, and a gaping, surprising circumcision, Super Mario 64, oof, death, random hair loss, upset tummy, uncontrollable crying, chronic flatulence, extra bones, grow a tail, bee, sun, blood loss, derpy, sweating, crying, dehydration, change in size, combustible, become mute, lose your shadow, develop your rabbits, always nude, and uncontrollable giggling.
Oh wow! I can't wait to solve my problem.
Viewer's discretion is advised. Please seek a doctor for details.
I'm a doctor.
And we'll be right back.
And that's it. Let me know that I felt I could. That was the best.
Yes.
Thank you for pulling that together last second. That was good.
That's how improv should be.
Hey, I was just very bad at improving with you. I tried to.
That's what makes it fun, though, is when someone knows that someone doesn't, then someone who does can play off of it.
Well, I played off it a little bit. Posse.
No, you did good. You did good. You did good. You did exactly as I was hoping for. Surprise inclusion where you were not ready for it, and I was going to be like, this is exactly what I want.
So wait,
Oh
are we
my
actually
It
on
was
break
good.
right now?
Yeah.
Can they hear us or no? Okay.
Yeah, we're breaking.
Oh.
This is the Patreon free, which I only have a few people.
Okay, I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick.
Don't fall in.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, they can't
Now
hear
we're in
us.
for a while.
They can't hear us. Eli says we can hear you guys. Marco, that's the test.
Oh, yep. I heard it. They heard everything. I just heard Nuka
Yeah.
5 seconds later.
Yeah, no, I said Marco and the rest of with Polo. So yeah, no, they can hear us. So it'd be a really bad time to be like, oh, those little fans. This will keep the little SOBs happy.
When your fans are cringe? We're all cringe. That's the end of this.
So it's only like a half of a break because they're still hearing us.
We love fans. Always remember that. Just kidding, LMAO. Just kidding, LMAO.
Specific. Oh, thank God the microphone's off. These hemorrhoids are killing me. It took me that long to think of some embarrassing medical ailment.
I've been loving this, Twitter, I don't know what to call it, the Twitter trend of name something that's forever funny no matter how many times it's repeated. It's just like all these little clips of just absolutely legendary moments. I'm at soup. What do you mean you're at soup? I mean I'm at
God.
the store. Classic.
Am I getting drunk? For me, that's like half of early season Simpsons. Although I'm sad and I die a little inside because most of my students, actually virtually all of my students, just have no idea what I'm talking about.
Let it die, let it shrivel up and die. You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Oh god, I like that one.
That one's a good one.
Early Adam Sandler is that way.
Very early Adam Sandler.
Like, yeah, Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison.
Adverse side effects. Enjoy crunchy munchies at your own risk.
God damn it, I hate that Bob Barker.
Bob Barker.
Oh no, even better for that movie. The Price is Wrong, bitch.
The classic Who's On First. That's a good one.
Oh, have a good hell diving, Neon.
Call in the stratagem! 500 kilogram bomb! For democracy and freedom. Sweet liberty, my leg!
Something played Helldivers. I'm just not a huge multiplayer person. I just do not like multiplayer games.
Even if it's online co-op?
I'm more okay with online co-op, but I don't know. I ever since I played Overwatch, it just killed my desire to interact with people online. People are just shitty online.
Yeah, PvP definitely sucks big time. It's a thing. It's something you kind of have to like either like or don't like. Like I love Team Fortress 2 and I love playing that game, but I hate how there are still bots that just ruin the game, and it's like I'd rather just deal with the racists at this point because at least I know where they are. These fucking bots are just goddamn.
I enjoy my solo gaming and like my own little games.
You can solo Helldivers. It's harder, but
I was gonna say I heard some people say that it's not really viable to do that. That it's just too hard to solo it.
if you go, I mean, you don't have to go like the hardest difficulties, but in order to get anything good, you gotta do the harder difficulties. You can do it. It's just it do kind of suck. You definitely want to have at least tough random.
I think it's the other problem too is that I try to avoid now playing games that don't have an ending, just because I have so many games in my to play queue that I like to play a game, get to the end, and then move to the next one. So there's a game like, oh, there's no ending. You just that's why I stopped playing Overwatch 2. I'm like, well, there's no ending to this. I could sink 200 hours into this and not, be anywhere closer to stop playing.
No, that's fair. That's like me with Breath of the Wild. I still have not finished the game, and it's more or less just like if once I finish it, I'm going to be done with it probably forever. But then I don't want to. But at the same time, I haven't done it yet. It's like what am I waiting for? But at the same time,
Cringe. I like to cringe.
I played Warframe. I didn't mind it, but if I'm gonna play about robots and stuff, I would play MechWarrior. I love MechWarrior. Let's go. Yeah, anything for games and robots.
I'm back. Who we waiting for? Me?
Mech Warrior, not Mech Wear. Mech Warrior. I'm ready. I mean, we've been on the entire time, so.
Yeah, apparently people have been able to hear us this whole time.
Wow. Oh well.
That's okay. I didn't share my social security number or anything.
I just
The
waiting
number
for
to
Rue
dial
be,
is.
waiting for Rue to be like, oh, I gotta take a shit.
Oh no! Stop! Ew!
I gotta take a hot steamer.
Ew!
I can feel it. It's gonna iceberg.
Gross.
Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum.
Who's coming back?
When the tonguing is done, we'll
We're
take
in,
our
Sam.
leave and go. She had
Yeah, we
Oh.
have this Rue, I think.
from shore, went down on her
It's Click, isn't it?
I don't think it matters. We're just here.
Yeah, and plus they're hearing us talk right now about who's gonna come back.
come to bring us sugar and tea and rum.
Rue.
Today when the tonguing is done,
It's
we'll
Okay.
take our
time.
leave and go.
Whenever you're ready, give me the countdown.
The water, the whale's tail came up and caught her last.
Count down with us, everyone,
Because
because they can all hear us.
Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.
Enjoyed that lovely commercial. We may or may not be sponsored by them today. So, yay!
What? We're
Yay.
sponsored by being pawed off.
Yeah, pausies.
Oh.
Anywho, so we have some lovely music that wait, no, who wrote that in the script? Who wrote that in the script? This is not lovely music that's going to be playing.
Where are you? What?
This is
What are you
torturing
looking
music.
at?
What are you looking at?
Oh, we're not there yet.
No.
No.
Andrew gets a point.
Wow.
Yay!
Another point for Rue!
Rue pulls ahead.
I was bad. I didn't know where we were in the show
We're
notes.
all
I
like,
was
what
just
the
ready to
fuck is
close.
he talking about?
Yeah. Wow. Well, hey, so first of all, I want to thank everybody that has been able to join us thus far. Your comments are super appreciated, and we'll do our best. So once again, we're going to continue our topic about cringe. So please feel free to share it in either the patron, and it will actually appear up on the screen over here, on our screen itself, or you can just put it in the YouTube channel, and we will respond to it there as well.
So yeah.
Back to Nuka.
Quick, Nuka, go for it.
Well, I guess I was going to ask if there are any more examples of cringe, or cringing at furry conventions, cringing on social media. We haven't really talked too much about like social media cringe, like things that people post on Instagram or Twitter or YouTube.
Well, I saw something recently that made me cringe. We have in good old Utah, we have the a school that apparently had a bunch of kids that were
Oh, I heard about
barking and biting other children, and they protested saying we need to kick out all the furries, and a lot of a lot of news media like grabbed hold of that and publicized that a lot. Yeah, that happened recently. That was very cringy.
Yeah, but that
So
was
sometimes the
completely out
media
of
will take
context.
something and run with it and take it out of whack. But
Well, That's actually a really good example of one of the purported reasons for, or I guess something related to cringe. Something called the black sheep effect, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, but it's this like wanting to keep undesirables in your group at an arm's length. Like, so if something would reflect badly on your group, you want to try to sort of like distance from them. It's like, oh, I'm a furry, but then like a furry goes and does something really awful, and you're like, ooh, like they're not like those ones are different. They're not like us, the rest of us furries. So, and cringing might be sort of a way of kind of saying like, don't be like that one person.
What, like
Oh.
the
Well-
BLFC pizza special?
Oh,
Oh,
Has to
See?
go there.
oh yeah, that's cringe.
I feel like I'm the only one who didn't really cringe. I just laughed. I thought that was funny, but that's just me.
I think
Yeah,
it's
but
funny.
that's kind of
and you know
another-
what's even funnier is the next year. So there's this individual that does modified plushes, and he ended up making like pizza slices with strategically placed holes. like,
That's
it made me
genuinely
laugh.
funny.
That's really good.
The
Though.
problem with stories like that and the whole cringe factor of that stuff is people blew it way out of proportion and started saying stuff that wasn't true, so it made the story more cringe than it really was.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying what they did was great, but what they did wasn't as bad as what people made it out to be.
But also, is that
Well,
cringe?
I
Is it
think that
cringe?
sometimes what happens, Click, is I think that people that are at home and have nothing else better to do because they didn't get a chance to go to the convention. I'm going to say it. They had nothing else better to do. And so therefore, they're going to look at anything that they
Well, right,
possibly
they find
can.
whatever they can and blow it up
It-
and make the drama
Exactly.
for that con out of it.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, we're going to contact the hotel, or we're going to like, I mean, it happens, and it's dumb. That's why we get conventions shut down. Like that, we've seen it happen in the past. I mean, we've seen it just recently that some stuff happened over at the last convention, FWA, right? There were some
What?
things
Yeah.
that kind of blew up.
So-
yeah.
For the pizza thing, I would say I don't necessarily think that's so. If you disagree, if you think, oh, that's gross, or I don't like that, I would say that, like, again, that falls into, well, I disagree with you, or I think that you're a jerk, or you're gross, or you're an asshole. But I don't think that falls into the cringe category, because it's like, ugh, like you did
Well,
this intentionally. It wasn't,
yeah,
you
they
didn't
did it-
realize how this would come
They
across.
purposely did it for a reaction.
Shock
It wasn't
value, yeah.
I feel embarrassed for them because they don't realize it. No, they knew what they were doing.
Now, if you want to cringe, I don't know if people have much memory for this. The convention Free for All a couple of years ago, or a year
Oh,
ago.
They're still going, Nuka. They're still
Are they still going? Oh, I'm genuinely surprised they're still going.
Give the story because I am not familiar.
Without going too much into politics or anything, yeah, Free for All was intended to be like a you can do anything furry convention, kind of a libertarian-esque furry convention where it's, you know,
Okay, I remember.
yeah.
I
So
didn't know
again,
that
that
was
was,
Free
what
for
it
All was
called.
basically the alt-right furry convention.
Okay.
yeah. I don't want to delve too much into politics on it, but yeah, but what was cringe about it, I think, was the attempt to try to make it, oh, this is a big event, it's super successful, but then you would see pictures of like their fursuit parade, and it was like 12 people, and you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
So the cringe part of that is the like, oh, you're trying to make this look more impressive than it is, and it's just kind of like, oh.
The cringe came from the try-hardness, not necessarily a con in itself. They
Right.
tried way too hard to be the non-political political con, and tried to make it seem like they were bigger than they were when they really weren't. And it was pretty obvious. You could tell with social media and phones.
Yeah.
You could just
It looked like BalCon or that Willy Wonka convention.
Oh god, the Willy Wonka.
I didn't hear about the Willy Wonka one, but I know about the what the hell was Balcon?
Wasn't that,
That
like
was,
Tumblr
Oh,
Dash
Con?
Con. Dash Con.
Tumblr.
Dash
Yeah.
Con.
Con.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow.
Well, hey, I just wanted to follow up on one thing. So back to that that scenario with that school and
Oh yeah.
the biting and stuff like that of students. So apparently the Salt Lake Tribune actually did a furry story. They actually ended up interviewing a couple of people, like some of the main head like the convention chair of a woo, and they also interviewed 3 of the U2F2, which is our local furry group, the United Utah Furry Fandom. They ended up interviewing them as well. So it was actually a pretty positive story to kind of help.
It kind of,
rebuttal.
well, the problem with that story is you have to have the context, right? It's kind of the same thing as the litter box thing. It's a non-story, like, right? So there was like one kid that did something stupid, like scratched somebody or bit somebody. So then all these parents got together and got their shithead little kids to go out and protest because mommy told me to. So now the furries are a huge problem because all these kids protested.
So I have to actually give a talk this week to a bunch of clinical psychologists in Utah, and this is one of the things they want me to talk about.
Well,
So
I mean,
I'm talking
it is your
I'm talking
profession.
this week about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
but
are
we
you
have-
going to say, Nuka?
I've got a whole presentation, but well,
It-
let's not get into that.
It's not going to come down to whole kids be kids.
Essentially, I noticed that Eli has posted in the Discord here, so I'll just sort of read verbatim. Because we're talking about social media, cringe on social media, and they say, I followed a smaller furry artist on Twitter, and not too long after they DM'd me asking if I wanted to commission them. I politely declined, explaining that, I have responsibilities. They responded with something along the lines of, I can give you a discount. I'm like, nah, fam, bills and shit. They answer, can't you make an exception for a fellow furry? There was more back and forth with me trying to be nice. Needless to say, I am no longer following them.
Yeah, that's
That's pretty cringe. Again,
that's bad. Yeah.
if the lack of self-awareness is there, if they don't realize how they're coming across, that falls into cringe territory, I would say.
yeah.
I hate that, and it's happened to me before. I don't necessarily call it cringe, more of just annoying.
yeah.
Well,
it depends,
I mean,
it depends if they know how they come across.
That's the other side of the coin of you'll get exposure, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And then
Like,
it's
on the one side, you've got people trying to get commissions for nothing because you'll get exposure. But then on the other side of that coin is people trying to, hey, I need to do commissions. You should buy stuff from me. And it's like, well, I'm not looking to buy stuff right now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I get. I feel like the sleazy used car salesman shows up and just like, hey, you can get a great deal, slaps roof of commission.
slaps.
This
roof.
baby can hold so much pencil.
I glad you went with pencil and not something else.
Yeah, I'm glad you led with that.
Oh. So, if I could steer the conversation a little bit, we've been talking about a lot of examples of cringe here. One thing I guess I wanted to ask is whether or not cringe and the cringe response is a good or a bad thing, or just kind of a thing. Because I mentioned already, there's sort of a few possible benefits of it. It might be good, for example, for our groups. If furries collectively cringe at one furry doing something really horribly inappropriate, it's kind of a way of saying, hey guys, we all kind of agree this is something that we don't do, that we're not okay with. It could also be a good learning experience. If you see someone doing something really cringy, you go, ooh, I shouldn't do that. I'm looking at it from the outside, I realize, oh, that's not something I want to do. So there can be some potential good for it, but there's also potential bad things as well. It could be an excuse to dogpile or to bully, right? Someone's suit is just a little bit, matted or a little old or a little, maybe a little amateurish, and that could be an excuse to, oh, it's cringe, let's dogpile on them. Or in a fandom where there is a lot of neurodiversity, it could be an issue of like, oh, like that person just genuinely doesn't realize. We realize we're a socially awkward fandom, and sometimes amplifying and blowing up and laughing at someone's genuine lack of self-awareness, is that ableist? I don't have an answer. I'm just wondering what the room thinks.
Right. Well, just a side note, I hate dogpiling. Rue can attest. I've got so pissed off in chat rooms for people dogpiling. I hate it.
Yeah,
Even if somebody
me
is
too.
genuinely cringe, right?
Mhm.
It's
Note
like,
to self.
okay, somebody calls it out, right? Whatever. But if you're gonna sit there and not say nothing forever, but then as soon as something comes along that, oh hey, I can jump on this because it's popular now. I don't know. It just drives me crazy.
Yep. I think the people that try to cancel other people, like, to me, that's cringe.
Didn't someone recently get canceled for doing that?
What, for
Wasn't that
canceling or
wasn't that
trying to
like I don't know
cancel
if that was
somebody
like an
else?
A&E thing. I think that was like some person was always calling out people that didn't actually needed to be called out, and they were just being toxic. And I think they finally got like reprimanded for that recently. I don't know. Maybe I'm remembering something else.
Right. But
Yeah.
to Nuka's question, right? It's when is it helpful and when is it not,
Yeah.
right? When does it turn into dogpiling?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to be like, that's kind of cringe, and then you pull them aside and be like, dude, maybe you should not do this.
Mhm.
Versus, standing back with this team of 40 people around you pointing and laughing, and then everybody else does the same thing. It's just
Mhm.
there's definitely a difference.
Now,
Yeah.
now, don't get me wrong. Like, I think that there's definitely a difference between standing up for yourself and doing call out type stuff. I think it's important for people to call out, because I don't want people to think, oh, like, for example, I'll go to the extreme. I'm a victim of some sort of violent type situation. I don't know what we can say on YouTube and what we can't. So I'm trying to be careful with those words. So I'll let you paint that in. But and then you're like, oh, you don't end up reporting it, or you're scared to report those things. It's important for you to speak out and make sure that you're advocating for yourself. But I think that that's a difference than trying to cancel somebody.
Well, right, but we're
So-
not talking about actual problems. We're talking about it just because you think something's cringe.
Yeah, no
Should you
worries. I
stand back
just,
and point and laugh? Or, it's definitely more helpful to be just like, be discreet, or,
Well,
is it, if it's a group thing, right?
well, I think intent count. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your point.
Oh,
Sorry.
well, just, the whole furries in general, right? Because to a certain percentage of the population, we're all cringe off the bat. So
Intent counts for a lot, I think, because going back to the earlier question or the earlier points of like, do you actively seek out cringe or do you find it uncomfortable to look at? I think for a person who like sees something and cringes, there's some genuine like empathy. They're like, oh man, like I feel really bad for that person. They don't know. And I can imagine being in that situation. I think in that case, like cringe can be good. Cringe can maybe build empathy and say, boy, if I saw that person, I might try to pull them aside and explain or try to help them. Uh, it's when it's done in this very malicious way that I'm milking you for laughs. You are a source of entertainment for me. That it seems a lot more mean spirited.
Mhm.
The intent isn't I would like to help this person or I feel for this person. It's I derive pleasure from your awkwardness.
yeah,
One thing
well,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, intent is definitely, well, that's the dance, right? Is inference, and you how do you how do I put this? How do you let somebody know that what they're doing is cringy and not come off like an asshole?
Yeah. You certainly don't do it by just yelling the word cringe.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
I
then
guess
there's also an option of like you can be like, "Yo, dude, that was, let's not do that." Or if they're actively doing something, be like, "Hey, let's stop doing that." I mean, hell, I've got one of the very last kind of local fur meets I went to, and this is years and years ago when I was still trying to actively go. It was at a park, and the people running the meet were trying to do announcements to be like, tell everybody like what we were going on, like the other events coming up, things like that. And there were a couple of people that were, because it was like a pavilion they had rented, and they were climbing all up on the sides of the pavilion and stuff and just being loud and obnoxious. And the people hosting the event were trying to do what they needed to do and were asking for them to get down. And I was like, and I went up there and I yelled at them. I was like, get down. You know, they're trying to just being like, you've been asked nicely. I'm no longer asking nicely because now you're just being a problem. And it was funny because they're like, oh, Sammy, you're so mean. You're so rude. I'm like, no, you were the rude ones. They had already asked you multiple times to get down and to stop causing a problem. And you just refused to listen. So it's like, you know, they had ample opportunity to be respectful, even if they didn't particularly find what they were doing a problem. If the overall group is like, this is probably a problem, you should maybe listen.
Yeah, and that's getting again into are they aware, right? If the first time someone says, hey, you know, as Eli says, you're doing something, people are reacting this way, maybe tone it down a bit. If the first time you tell them, they go, oh, I didn't realize, then that's you empathize, you know, you feel bad for them. When you have to tell them again and again and they're ignoring you, then you're okay. I'm no longer empathizing with you. You're once again in asshole territory.
Mm-hmm.
And then the shunning begins.
And the
Yes.
shunning
Shun
begins.
the non-believer. Shun.
So I
The
guess
shunning.
with that, do we want to not throw it to a break, but I guess perhaps it's time for Rue to put in some earplugs.
Oh, is it that time?
Oh, you mean? But he was so excited for it when we came back.
I
Like
know.
20
it sounded
minutes
like
ago,
he
he
wanted it.
definitely wanted to do it.
No, I don't want it. We can just like bypass that.
Well, too late, bitch. It's happening.
No!
Yay!
No.
Do it.
Why?
Do it.
You know, the other day I went to a church with a friend, with actually one of our listeners, Eli. I went over into a church and it was really hard for me to be there. I was just, my soul was burning, and this music is just as bad.
You mean this beautiful music?
Beautiful music. Beautiful. All right, Charlie.
You're up.
This episode is brought to you by our wonderful Patreons. We are gathered here to welcome them into by the wonderful pearly gates. Here we are welcoming Anthallo, Nuka, Black, Baldrik, Lufis the Raccoon, Tenax the other raccoon, Eli, Plug, Ausi Kat, Chaphogriff, Lygris, a Christian, what a perfect fit, Ichigo Ookami, Meng times 3, Tire 52, Victor Mutt, and now Sage Light Fang.
Yay! Is the music over? Ugh. I can come back. My soul has rejoined my body. No!
He's gotten mad with power.
I'm surprised it's taken this long.
I got one thing to do on this boat, and I'm doing it, damn it.
I got one job on this ship. It's stupid, but I'm doing it.
So I guess
Love that movie.
in an episode full of cringy things, I guess there's nothing left to do but to our final thoughts. Discuss our final thoughts about Cringe. how we feel about it. Have we learned anything today? Was this a sensible discussion, or did we just sort of meander for 2 hours? What do you think, Rue?
Wait.
Wait.
Before we move on, I want to say one thing.
Okay.
Thank you to our patrons for being so amazing. We appreciate you 100%. And without you, this show would not continue. So thank you for your continued support to the show itself. And if you are interested in being a patron yourself, we have patron games. In fact, we have another patron game that's coming up real soon.
Next weekend, I think, yeah.
Is it next weekend? Wow, it's so soon. Are you sure it's next
Start
weekend?
of the month. Yeah, it's the first Sunday of every month.
Oh, wow. Do we even know what game we're playing yet?
Helldivers.
Helldivers. Yeah. Anywho, so going back to the final thought, I think that the number one thing is furries are weird. And we're all socially awkward. And you know what's going to happen? Cringy things are going to happen once in a while. But you know what? Do your best to, still welcome people. Because honestly, at some point in time, I was that cringy person. I was that one that, that I think that people could consider cringe. And I know some of you are already saying, Rue, you're still that person. And you know what? You're probably right. But needless to say, I just think that it's good for you to still give people an opportunity to kind of find their their foot in the door in the fandom itself. And you know what? We're going to continue to see cringe. But, don't let it get too much. Don't, just take a deep breath and, and move forward with your day. Don't let cringe ruin you. Ha. That's like my name. It's Rue. So, anywho, that's my final thought.
All right, click.
Yeah, don't be an ass.
Cringe. No, just kidding.
So that's it. Don't be an ass.
That's it.
All right,
That's it.
boss.
Life advice.
I don't know. There's going to be cringe everywhere all the time. It's never going to go away. So laugh at it while you can.
Sammy.
People are cringe. And we are people, though we sometimes like to think we're animals. But also just, yeah. Don't be an
cringy.
asshole. If someone's saying, hey, let's stop that for now, well, there's probably a good reason for it. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
And Charlie.
As someone who has spent many years trying to find out how to be the funny, one of the best advice I could tell you is if no one's laughing and you read the room and it doesn't seem like anyone's really partaking in it, you are in fact cringe and you should change either the subject or environments. Because there's a time and place for where it would be funny, but it's not funny everywhere. Unlike puns, those are great at any time.
Always.
Any time.
All right. I suppose that leaves me last. I didn't miss anyone, right? Yeah, I went through everyone. Right. I guess I'll finish off with a quote. I looked and I couldn't figure out who said this quote. So if anyone knows, let me know. But I just sort of liked it, right? So it's do not kill the part of you that is cringe. Kill the part of you that cringes. And I think that's sort of what furries do in a way, right? We recognize that this hobby of ours is inherently kind of cringy to most people, and we embrace it. And I think that's fine to do. But be mindful, right? It's great to a point. Too much, however, too little self-awareness, and you cross that threshold into asshole. Don't be that.
Don't be that guy. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
I'm not your pal, friend.
I'm not
Your friend, buddy.
I'm not your buddy, guy.
Memes. We're so good at them.
I guess we're on to the mailbag.
Saving this one.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess, guys, we don't have an empty mailbag this week.
Holy crap!
What?
We-
No way!
we have-
Really?
We have and mailbag.
I'm so excited.
mail.
Let's read it. Let's read it.
And mail.
Open.
All
open.
right. So this says, "Hello, cast of For What It's Worth. I love the podcast and have been listening since 2014. Also
Whoa.
binged all
Oh,
previous
geez.
episodes.
Whoa.
With the most recent episode out about correct behavior in the dealer's den, I greatly appreciate and enjoyed the episode for giving me a guide on how to be a respectful consumer going to my first con in September.
Oh,
I
wow.
love the podcast. Keep up the great work. Best regards, Zane Cat Eye."
Ah,
So that's
Thanks,
exciting.
awesome.
First
Dope.
cons are always exciting and nerve-wracking. I hope you have a fantastic time when you go, Zane. And yeah, I mean, dealer's den is just be courteous to the dealers and the other folks in the room, and I'm sure you're gonna have an awesome time.
have a good one. Buy lots of stuff.
Thank you for being an amazing long-time listener. Speaking of long-time listener, there's one thing that I want to throw out that I think was pretty awesome. There was one person that said tails bursting out of pants, and for people that know, that was an episode
That's
a
a if you
long
know, you
time
know
ago.
reference.
Well, if you don't know, now you know.
And
Yes, at least it's with,
OGFWIW. Yeah. And
Yeah.
now for your future cringe, we'll be start selling merch with Rue's face on it. You can buy a t-shirt.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
I guess that leaves us with housekeeping.
Yeah.
Housekeeping? Oh, wow. Let me jump in here. So, first of all, we have a lovely website. It's forwhatitsworth.com. We have Twitter, Blue Sky, Mastodon, and Facebook at forwhatitsworth.com. We have a Telegram channel. Please contact me if you are interested in joining it. We have a pretty active community there. We have our lovely cast email, which is cast@forwhatitsworth.com, or you can contact us individually at rue@forwhatitsworth.com. Click Sammy, Nuka, and Voss. And we haven't gotten Charlie set up yet, but we'll soon have Charlie at forwhatitsworth.com.
It's
But not
okay.
yet.
I've only been doing this for a few months. It's fine.
I just have to do it, okay? I just have to have the time. And then, of course, we always love our speak pipe. So we like hearing from you guys. So, if you're brave enough, we would like to hear your voice on the show. Please send it to speakpipe.com/forwhatitsworth. We also love idents, so please send us an ident. What is an ident, you say? Charlie, give us an ident.
Doink burnt, doink burnt, doink burnt. Hey, John, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just working on this here funny thing. Oh, you're working on this funny thing? What's it doing? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out for what it's worth.
There you go.
Exactly like that.
And then, of course, with our show, we don't have a lot of marketing dollars that are out there. So basically, all of our marketing is you guys. So please share this lovely episode. If this show has helped you in some way or form, share it with a friend. If you see a furry that's struggling with something, and we have a plethora of episodes you could send them to potentially help them with a particular topic. So please tell a friend.
All right. So should we promote our next episode? Should we tease what the next episode's going to be about?
Sure.
Silence was the stern response. Next episode, we'll be talking about wellness, de-stressing in your life. I think that Rue is leading that episode, I believe. So
The stressing in your life? I don't want to stress more.
de-stressing, unstressing, anti-stressing.
Okay.
But
Yes,
with
that is correct. Wellness, de-stressing in life. I was just looking that up. just
to make sure. Okay. I did.
I
look
just wanted to make
beforehand
sure
look
that
at it.
Nuka wasn't making another mistake. Oh my goodness.
I do that sometimes. So,
Well-
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, everybody, this has been a wonderful episode. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for Nuka for putting this show together. Voss for your amazing technical abilities. And Click for your amazing banter. And Sammy for always being you. And of course, Charlie for his wacky antics.
Hi.
And Ruth, thank you for not masturbating for a moment so we could do this episode.
I mean, I don't know if you saw me earlier, but my head was shaking down here. I was looking down. You know,
Everybody
I
was
figured the best
wondering.
time.
Yep.
Oh, this has been Rue.
Sammy.
And Click.
Charlie.
Yeah.
And this
And I don't know if I was the end or the beginning. I
No,
don't know the order.
And Charlie.
And Charlie.
and this has been
Well, I guess
Toodles.